First, a quick housekeeping. Thank you so much for all the feedback from the last 2 videos. That's very interesting to read, and I'm taking it all into consideration. So thanks for that. Also, thank you for all your patience. This week, I received half of the parts necessary to fulfill mostly all orders up until something like mid-July or thereabouts, maybe some newer ones as well. But in any case, next week I'll be shipping out just so many pedals, and so I'm extremely grateful for all your patience. Now, I've been making some moves to try to make sure that we don't end up in this, or that is, I don't end up in this situation again, regardless of what happens politically in the world. And that's going to take some time to get right. But in the meantime, all the orders that are coming in go directly into creating a situation where I can be just free of all of this noise. And so I'm trying to make that as easy for you as possible. And one thing I'm doing today is you can now use the coupon code TRADEWAR in my web shop for a 10% off. And that's the 10% on top of the percentage that is automatically taken off of your order to sort of offset some of the burden with the tariffs. So hopefully that'll push you over the edge. Now, there's something else I've been meaning to talk about, and this is something I've been thinking about actually for quite some time, and it was brought to the forefront of my agenda last week with JHS Josh Scott and his troops' new release, the 424, the 424. The 424 is a peculiar thing. Now, it's a channel strip taken from a Tascam Porta424 studio thing, which was a cassette tape recording device that I'm a little bit too young to have ever used one, and back when I would have been the age where it would be appropriate for me to have one, I was a classical musician, and so that never happened for me. But I remember them sort of strewn about in studios, like in home recording studios, or sort of low budget recording studios that I would go to when I was in my teens. And it's a cool thing, and it's had its resurgence thanks to a guy called Mk.gee, I believe is how you pronounce that. And Mk.gee, or Mike Gordon, is an incredible guitarist, and he's played with a band. He's played with many things, but he's played with one band in particular called DIJON. And if you haven't seen the film that they did for the album Absolutely, I've actually posted it below because you should see it. It's incredible. There's a song on there called Scratching, which is one of the best songs I think ever. It's basically the Exile on Main Street of our generation, and that's high praise, and I think it's valid. But the thing with Mike, with Mr. Gordon, is that he is working on an ampless rig. There is no guitar amp, and that's something you're getting familiar with as well, probably. Many of you would be using sort of Line 6 stuff, Strymon stuff, Universal Audio stuff in place of an amp, maybe live, maybe just at home, such as is the case for me. I use the Strymon Iridium mostly for making these videos and for testing pedals, although I can't always rely on it because it'll mask some issues. But with the current evolution of technology, especially AI, convolution, algorithms, stuff like that, I'm sensing this sort of move back to whatever is original. And I mean, you can't really do that without an amplifier, can you? Well, it turns out you can. And so what he's doing is essentially he's just going straight out of the mixing portion of the Porta studio thing into the front of house. And that's what Josh has bottled in a pedal form, which is a great idea. And he's not the first person to have this idea. And it's not the first time Josh has not been the first person to have a certain idea, and that causing a bit of commotion in this sort of really nerdy guitar communities, which I'm, I suppose, a part of. But listen, it's about packaging, right? He didn't make this circuit, and nor did any of the other guys. It doesn't really matter. What he has done is he's added a DI output right on the enclosure itself, and this means that it's removing some of the friction if you want to use it live. Now, keep in mind, you could also just take some kind of preamp that you like and then bring it to a venue, and the sound engineer is going to have DIs. So you can do this, and this is the point of this video, I think. You can do this with pretty much anything. You could do it with a fuzz if you wanted to. You could do it with a reverb. It doesn't matter. I think the main takeaway that you should take from the Mk.gee concept is that, first of all, you don't need an amplifier. Second of all, not using an amplifier might open up some brand new, different, interesting sounds that sound very different from having an amplifier. Number three, you don't necessarily need a pristine preamp to do this. Now, the Porta Studio was like a cheap thing. And number four is you probably have something at home that you can use in the same way. And so I thought we'd look at that, because I have something at home that I can use in this way. Now, it won't be exactly the same, because the Porta Pro preamp has a specific sound, but so do my stuff. And that sound is different from Mk.gee, but I'm not trying to be Mk.gee, right? I'm trying to be me as well as I can. And yeah, the stuff that I'm going to run through, it comes with a bunch of effects as well, and so that's cool. So I've hooked up a MXNHLT, a LOKE, and a FJÄR, and I'm going to show you what the preamps sound like together, and then we'll add some effects as well, which I think should be nice. So let's see if we can recreate some of the emotional feeling of the Mk.gee thing without necessarily using the exact same equipment. Now, I should add, just, you know, if you want the 424, or if you want even like a real Porta Studio thing, then just go get it. It's fun. This is supposed to be for fun. Now, if you can't afford it, don't get it, of course. But if you can, and you want it, and you think it'll solve some of your problems, I think especially the 424 looks like it's made really well. And also take a look at the other ones. I've listed them below. There's, for instance, Doug Tuttle, a legendary pedal maker who has Midfire Electronics as his brand. Just amazing stuff. Take a look at his. And there's this other guy too. I don't remember the name of the thing, but I've listed it below. And he's done this, and he's done it with a fader, which is pretty cool. So take a look at that. And hey, 10% off anything in my shop, which will amount to more like 17.5% or so once everything gets added together. So you can get this now. Help me out of the squeeze, and we'll get on this together, and I'll be able to keep making fun stuff. So I think I'll just play, and you'll listen, and you'll tell me what you think. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I mean, very different gains between the different ones. Now I stuck the MXNHLT first, and then I stuck LOKE in the middle, and then FJÄR is the final thing on the setup here. There's two reasons for that. I like reverb last, and also it has clipping diodes, and they will clip as we increase the signal going into the clippers. So yeah, let's pair everything and I'll just play some, okay? Alright, so, you know, I like it. It's different. It feels like once you hit that sort of roof, it flattens out, it becomes really compressed, and there's nowhere to really go. And I think that's kind of why he's using Mk.gee, that is. That's why he's using this Reverb X, which is made by Dave Rainger, who's an incredible pedal maker. And that thing is kind of the opposite of what Mime, if you remember Mime, the first one. What Mime did was, it was a ducking reverb. So if you hit it hard, it would duck away and leave room for the fuzz. And so I thought that was a pretty cool idea. And the Reverb X kind of does the opposite. So you hit it hard and it splashes reverb at you. And so I think once you're in this space where there's not much room to move, I think at the same time surprisingly more than I thought it would be. It's still quite dynamic. It's a very different experience from playing a real amp or a fake amp that tries to be real, because it's kind of flat. But with that Reverb X, you can get that extra thing when you hit it, and so that brings back some of the dynamic range, kind of by way of expansion and by way of all pass filters clashing together, if you understand what I mean. So very interesting. I think, you know, if you have some overdrives laying around and you have an audio interface, you should just try this. Just connect them into, you don't have to buy any of this stuff. You can if you want, and I'd be so extremely grateful for that, but you don't have to. You probably have everything you need to recreate that kind of tone. So, you know, something for everybody. I'll see you next time.